And one of the things that I think about with Jonah, and we're going to talk about him in just a minute, is he figured out where he was when it came to the mess part and figured out what he needed to do about it. And that's kind of what we're going to do. When you look at the sitcoms, I Love Lucy, I'm going way back, and Seinfeld, or whatever you like, you look at those situation comedies and you think, well, you know, that's not really bad, or that's my life, or my life's worse. If you look at what happens in the news, if you go there, you can find out what really is going on and how people really get in a mess. The last time I looked, I don't remember if you remember the story, but the guy was trying to rob a convenience store with a palm branch. Do y'all remember that? It didn't work out, by the way. It didn't work out too good. And then there was these 17 teenagers who got pregnant in one high school. And I hear they had this pact that they wanted to get pregnant, and they were giving high fives to each other. And somebody needs to say, I wonder what they were thinking. And when they get to 21, they're going to ask that question, what was I thinking? And when you look at your life, you look at these messes we get into, I think we've all been there. At some point we say, what was I thinking? And I remember when I went on a fishing trip off the coast of Charleston, and we were down there, and I'd gone with one of my buddies in college. Now, one reason I went with the guy is that he was in this saltwater magazine. I mean, he was on the cover. This guy does shark fishing. He knows how to do it. Now, the word that you need to catch in all this is shark fishing. That'll give you a clue of what's about to happen. I was about to get into a movie that I didn't want to be in. So we decided to go shark fishing. So we went out, and you know the line in Jaws where the boat's not big enough? That's kind of the way I felt when this thing was over with. So we went out shark fishing. We put out chum. You know what I'm talking about? The fish and the guts and the blood. You know what I'm talking about? We put chum everywhere because we wanted to bring in the sharks. So I'll never forget that. And he said, one thing we don't do is we don't bring the shark in the boat. And if I need to explain that to you, you just don't bring a shark in the boat. We would always catch them and cut them and let them go. So here we are. We got everything set up. We got the blood going. We got the chum going. And I'm watching, you know, the movie, The Fins in the Water. I'm watching it. I'm there, and I'm thinking boat's not big enough. So we're sitting there, and everything is going really well. And all of a sudden, wind started blowing. Rain started coming in. Clouds got darker. And I said, what is that out there? He said, oh, that's a water spout. And I said, what is that? He said, that's like a tornado on water. And there were two of them, and they were headed our way. So I made a suggestion. I said, why don't we, go in? Because I'd had enough, you know. So the movie's about to start, ladies and gentlemen. The movie's about to start. So we get everything reeled in, everything put up. You know, we got sharks are circling the boat, just like we wanted. It's time to leave. So guess what? He hits it, cranked the motor. The movie just started. It did not crank. Nothing moved. I went, oh, well, this guy's great. This guy's on magazines. He knows what to do. And so I'm sitting there. I said, let's just go in. It's starting to rain. He says, I'll call on the radio. I went, there's a good thought. There's what I've been looking for, the radio. Gets on the radio, and guess what? It doesn't work. And I didn't panic. You know, I hollered mama a couple of times. But I didn't panic. You know, I thought, now I'm in, you know. Again, that thought was, what was I thinking? Was coming out there. So we're sitting there, and I said, well, what are we going to do? He said, oh, nothing to worry about. The storm will blow us into the marsh. And I thought, really? I mean, is that a good thing or bad? So all of a sudden, the waves started coming in, and we just started drifting. He pulled up the anchor, and we just started drifting into the marsh. He said, there's only one problem. I said, what we'll do is we'll get in, and then we'll walk in. And I thought, really? He said, but you can't walk with me because the oyster beds will cut you to pieces. He had these rubber waders on that you do trout fishing with. He happened to have a pair in the boat. I never forget that. He put them on, he took off, and he disappeared. Are you getting the feel of this thing? There's me and another guy who I don't know very well. We're sitting in the boat. The waves are coming over the boat. It's raining and lightning, and it's bad. And the guy that knows anything about what's going on just disappeared. About 2 hours later, they showed up and towed us in, and I had this thought. What was I thinking? And I'll tell you this, I don't know if they ever have water spouts on the water or whatever, because I never go. And I'll never go again. That was the last shark fishing trip I ever had. When you look at the life of Jonah, and if you go ahead and get your outline out, there's a part in here that you have to think with Jonah, what was I thinking at that moment? What was I thinking? And so we call this sink or swim today, and we're going to go through this whole deal with him. And one of the things I've figured out that you need to figure out is, why do people get in messes anyway? Why in the world do we do that? How does that happen? Well, what I do know is that when we get outside the lines, when we get outside the boundaries that God has set up, we get in trouble every time. When it comes to relationships, when it comes to financial, whatever it is, when we go outside the lines, when God said this is how you do it, when you get outside the lines, you're going to get in trouble. Jonah got outside the lines, and he knows better than anybody how to get in a mess. Last time we left Jonah, the fish just threw him up on dry land. He'd been in the belly of a fish for 3 days, and he knew better than anybody what it meant to get outside the lines and not listen to God. One of the things I want you to pay attention to as we go through the story is that all of us have a purpose for being here. All of us have a reason for being on this earth. God wants us to use our gifts, our talents, to move people toward the cross. Everything that we do, everything that we are, God made it for a purpose and a plan, and we all have that. Sometimes you hear that on a Sunday morning, like I just said, and you didn't really get that, because you don't really believe I'm really talking to you. But I am talking to you. And Jonah figured out when God said to go to Nineveh, he was talking to Jonah.